on the road and FIU at home. Brian Beard leads the nation in steals and his Panthers into Western Kentucky to battle against one of the nation's top big men. Freshman Charles Bassey and the Hilltoppers. Conference USA basketball on beIN Sports is next. Well, things getting just a little strange at EA Diddle Arena. Western Kentucky trying to turn things around in their 100th season. It's been a strong start, at least in strength of schedule. And now they just need to find a way to make the wins follow. For FIU, 11-6, but more than a bump in the road their last time out. Phil Shane alongside Megan Perry. It is Conference USA on beIN Sports. And Megan, it's a bounce-back game for both teams.
Both teams are looking to get back into the win column with a 1-point loss for the Hilltoppers to Marshall, and then FIU coming off a 1-point loss to ODU. And Brian Beard is a name you're going to need to know. He is an explosive scoring point guard that is relentless with his attack on offense and just as disruptive on defense. He's crafty off the bounce, and he's lethal from that three-point line. So goes Mr. Beard, so goes this Panther team. And Brian Beard had an outstanding game against Old Dominion, a career-high 28 points, 10 assists. He'll be a major factor. And Charles Bassey for the Hilltoppers is a talented big that works extremely well block to block and demands a double team every time down the floor. Not only does he control the paint on the offensive end, but he's a savage rim protector and relentless rebounder. Bassey is quite the load to handle, and he will be a major factor for the Hilltoppers tonight. And what I love about Charles Bassey is averaging 14 points per game, but shooting 64% from the field. You got to get the big guy some touches on the inside. He knows exactly what to do with it. I anticipate a fun matchup and a high-flying, up-tempo matchup between these two tonight, Phil.
The freshman in the 15 spot when it comes to field goal percentage. And it's even better when you take a look at his threes. You know what? He's got to shoot more.
He does. I love his field goal percentage. I love what he's doing. So efficient, operating on the inside and the outside. He can do a little bit of it all, and is the anchor for this Hilltoppers offense.
So FIU 11-6, 2-4 in conference. Western Kentucky 8-8, 4-1 at home. Take a look at the starters right now for FIU, and there's Brian Beard in the middle. Who else do we keep an eye out for?
Well, I want to make sure you know this name. On the inside, it's going to be Osasu Osagai for FIU. He is a talented big, and I think he'll do a lot of damage.
And there's Jeremy Ballard, the first-year coach out of Colgate, a longtime assistant, most recently out of VCU, and an 11-6 mark to start out. Well, tying a club record, not a bad way to start. Now, when you take a look at Western Kentucky, Rick Stansbury's been the man now for a few seasons, 50-36 in his third year. Keep an eye on Jared Savage. Everyone watching Bassey, but Savage needs to have a good game today.
Well, Savage averages about 13 points per game, and it's been missing of late. Looking for Jared Savage to get back into the scoring column. And we'll also call the name Tavion Hollingsworth, number 11 for the Hilltoppers as well.
He can play lockdown defense and find the net. Stansbury, 59, out of Battletown, Kentucky, about 100 miles to the north. Went to school about 100 miles to the east. He's just a local kid. Ball tapped away. Western in their white with red. FIU wearing the road colors. Antonio Day passing it off. And here is Beard. Can play at the 1 or the 2. And pretty good from downtown as well. Into the corner. Fakes the drive. Dishes from long distance and puts it into the bottom of the net. Not bad for Beard. Averaging nearly 20 points a game. Tops on the team.
Well, he will be impressive. He's a name to know and someone to watch. As so goes FIU, so goes Mr. Beard.
Taking it wide now, driving to the inside, but rejected. Hollingsworth, they're going to say Osagai with the foul. Nope. Going FIU's way. Looked like he might have stepped out of bounds. Kelly Self, Jamie Luckey, and Roger Ayers, the officials here today. Nice little crossover. Jacob dishes off. Day from distance. They like to shoot from three, and that's going to be a key here today. Don't hit that one. A little bit of a miscue from Hollingsworth. Wide open in the corner, but Banton can't sink it.
Well, interesting enough, Phil, both teams really do like to play an up-tempo style of basketball, and FIU is forced into more half-court sets here early, so I think it's interesting that the Hilltoppers are able to slow down one of the fastest-moving offenses in the nation.
10 on the shot clock, into the corner. Jacob tries to drive, doesn't hit the rim. 6 seconds left. Beard from way downtown.
And that is what Ryan Beard can do for his team. You see him smiling. That was not an accident. That is his skill set.
30% from three-point distance. They should give him 4 for that one. 6-0 FIU early on. But as Western knows, a big lead early doesn't always last. We'll get into that in a moment. Josh Anderson, the human highlight for the Hilltoppers. Scoop up off the glass, but foul against FIU. Take another look at this one.
We see Brian Beard catch and release, letting it fly. That one was with some distance, Phil. And the problem with Brian Beard, you're not going to be able to stop him. You can hope to contain him. And Coach Stansberry and the Hilltoppers are merely just trying to limit his touches.
Top scorer on the team, top assist man, top steals, in fact tops in the nation. Ball over to the far side, boxed out well. Banton can't get it. Here comes the Panthers again. Off to Day, goes to the hole and drops it in. 8-0 FIU. I kind of have a feeling Jeremy Ballard might have pointed to WKU's last game as well. Pressure and almost a turnover, but they're going to call the foul against Devin Andrews. Last time out, Western had a 21-0 lead and lost.
Well, no lead is safe. 21 points is not what it used to be because of the evolution of the three-point ball. That's just a couple possessions in which things can change very quickly.
Had a big lead as well against Marshall the game before and only saw that one slip away to a 1-point loss.
And
Ball
both of those,
bobbled.
Phil, both of those games on the road. And in talking to Coach Stansberry, he mentioned that, you know, there's a fine line between winning and losing on the road. And it's just going to come down to the little things that you do consistently over the course of 40 minutes, not 35, 34, but a full 40 minutes.
Led for 34 minutes only to fall by a point. FIU into the corner. Andrews fakes the three, scoops inside, tries to find Osage, but no. And now a chance for WKU. 3 minutes in. Dish off to Hollingsworth. Inside for Bassey. The 6'11" freshman will get a second chance. Shot clock continues to tick. Hollingsworth to the baseline. Back for Bassey. He loves it from here. And that's why. A sweet touch by the freshman. 7 of 12 coming in today. 58% behind the arc for a 6'11" freshman.
I was going to say the same thing. With that kind of size, not only what he can do on the inside, but the perimeter, as we see FIU getting to work. But let's just go back to Charles Bassey for a second. What are you going to do? Someone that can work that well block to block, that can now step out and stretch the defense behind that three-point line. I'm not sure that there's really much you can do to stop him.
Well, just to give you an idea about Bassey as Andrews steps to the line. For the first time in team history, WKU had an NBA Pro Day before he'd even played a game.
That tells you he is an NBA prospect. A lot of eyeballs on this young raw talent, but there's so much he can do and a very strong upside for Charles Bassey. He's fun to watch.
Andrews again and again shooting from three. He'll get one more. Talking about the close losses and why we said this was a bounce back game as Nunez checks in. FIU against Old Dominion in their last game was leading with just a little over a second left in the game, only to see the Monarchs grab the game winner.
Well, the difference in close matchups, Phil, oftentimes is the free throw line. So for FIU, a team that doesn't necessarily shoot it that well from the charity stripe, but gets to the line pretty often. 64% isn't going to cut it.
They're fourth in the nation in free throw attempts, but 64% in conversions. And that was a perfect example against ODU. Outshot from the free throw line 80 to 54%. When you think about it, if they could get to 75%, they'd be well on their way towards a top seed in the conference tournament. Nice shot from the corner. 6 points now for the Tops. Beard into the corner for Trajan Jacob. Nunez, another guy that loves to shoot from three, but pass inside for Dieng. Not bad in the half court. Now pressuring one of the top teams when it comes to forcing turnovers, but if they can beat that initial press. Hollingsworth with a nice bucket.
Hollingsworth is a dynamic scorer for the Hilltoppers, and what you're seeing from FIU right now is Panther basketball. They like to push the pace and tempo. They're going to shoot lots of threes, and they're going to pressure you on defense.
12 to 8, 15 and a half to go in the first.
I think a great start by FIU, playing fast, and WKU looking to get the ball inside, some touches to their big guy. They're going to have to do a little bit more of that if they're going to close in on this lead. It's 12 to 8, FIU over WKU.
Two for three shooting for Beard, half of FIU's points. And we were talking about this during the break, Megan. It's still a newcomer, JUCO transfer to FIU, probably not getting the respect he deserves.
Well, he's putting everyone on notice. I think Brian Beard is a true talent. You'll see, averaging 19 points per game, 6 assists per game. I mean, that's incredible, and it boggles my mind how he couldn't be or maybe has not been considered for first team All-Conference USA. I think he's making his case.
Well, leading the nation in steals and catching up to Carlos Arroyo, at least in assists, 290. Only Arroyo with more, but Arroyo playing all 4 years with the Panthers.
And we talked about, Phil, this pressure defense and the style of play for FIU. It's not necessarily about getting a steal. It's about getting a stop. And over the course of 40 minutes, this pressure will wear you down and force you into errors.
Nice spin inside. The rebound, but they're going to say a foul as Savage went up. And another chance from the line. This could be, again, one of those areas where WKU has the advantage. 73% from the line on the year. Savage, 88% from the stripe. Tops on the team.
Well, Savage is one of their best shooters, period, full stop. And he's been quiet, 4 points tonight, and he hasn't been scoring with his usual rhythm and pace, but someone looking to get on track because he can be a major factor for the Hilltoppers.
So, down to a 3-point game. Dieng, one of the big men on this Panther squad. Back to Beard, double team, flips it into the corner for Isaiah Banks. Got the double bounce, but not a soft one. Out the other way, Banton. Kind of strange as they launch it in for Bassi, but well defended. Banton, 6'8" player, normally out wide, but they've handed the playmaking responsibilities over to the freshman.
Well, he's really been impressive. I think that Banton does an excellent job of facilitating, and his length makes him a difficult guard as far as matchups are concerned. You really have to consider who are you going to put out in the perimeter to guard him. Beard,
little juke to the left, drives to the right. Dieng drops it back, banks to the hole, and fouled on his path.
Well, the Panthers are the best when they can get into the paint. 2 feet into the paint is where they want to be. They're excellent creating off the bounce. And we mentioned they do an excellent job of getting to the free throw line.
Foul against Bassi. That is, again, part of the game. If they can keep him on the bench, makes it just a little bit easier. Banks, by the way, hits his first from the line. It's not a given. He's actually under 50% from the stripe on the year. And there's why. Rebound for the Tops. Pressure in the backcourt from Day. Bearden goes left. Pick set for Hollingsworth. Bassi comes out, opens the door for Anderson underneath. Now Bassi on the drive. And it looks like they're going to get a friendly call. Let's see.
Well,
Nope, they do call the charge.
Bassey on the move here. Looks like 2 feet outside the paint. He is going to pick up the charge. Just his first foul, but clearly something he does not agree with.
Day, 6'1" freshman out of Durham, North Carolina, although grew up in Fort Lauderdale, just north of the FIU campus. Slapped off the board by Bassey, something he does best. Top 20 in blocks. From distance, it's Nunez.
And look at Bassey run the floor, the big guy.
Beautiful pass and a slam dunk from Bassey.
My goodness. A weapon that we don't talk about coming from Charles Bassey is how he runs the floor, gets out in transition, and he can finish at the rim.
And a foul on the way by Nunez, and they're going to call that one. Chance now for Western Kentucky to take the lead.
And the Hilltoppers can get out and run that bounce pass on a dime. Look at Chris Bassey finish and elevate. The Hilltoppers fans are into that.
Tolu Smith ready to check in for Western, the freshman guard.
Well, both of these teams, they like to get up and down. They're great in the open floor. They're athletic. So while we talk about defense, we could be in for a track meet.
Well, 6 100-point games for FIU, although you could question some of the competition. WKU has played one of the tougher schedules in Conference USA, and their record shows it. There, as you saw on the flagrant, they get the chance to tie it up, and now they'll get another chance to take the lead.
Well, Phil, you mentioned this Hilltoppers team is happy to be at home. You know, they've played 11 of 16 games on the road. This is their first home conference game, so they're here to give the Hilltopper fans a treat.
Spin by Smith. Hollingsworth at the top. Drives to the right side, dishes off, and it's Savage underneath and dropped in by Smith. First lead of the game for the Hilltoppers. Their 100th season of basketball. And now a nice little drive by Michael Douglas as he gets his first points. Texas native. And I think we might be in for a track meet, Megan.
Absolutely. What I love about what the bigs on both teams are doing well, they move so excellently without the ball. Setting themselves up early, doing the footwork early, and being rewarded.
Smith backing in on Osagai and drawing the foul. His first personal.
Well, I think the matchup on the interior is interesting. I think that Tolu Smith is someone that can offer an offensive spark off the bench for the Hilltoppers. And for FIU, can they defend on the interior without fouling?
Again, it seems to be Smith and Bassey, Osagai and Dieng. That's the big man matchup here in the first half so far. Smith 50% from the free throw line. Now Jake Omer steps in. Bit hot and cold here, but a coach's type player. And he is a danger from distance, 36% behind the arc.
Well, just more offense has come into the game for the Hilltoppers. Another weapon on that perimeter. And Jake Omer was impressive off the bench in their big matchup and win against Wisconsin. He played 16 minutes, but he had 12 points, 3 rebounds, 1 block. He came ready.
Day. Beard. Out comes Smith, forces the pass into the corner for Nunez. Nunez averaging over 10 points, 33% from 3. Savage.
And look how spread this Hilltoppers offense is. So much room to work inside. The paint is wide open for Smith to be able to do his work.
One touch pass by Smith. Driving to the hole is Savage, but off iron. FIU the other way. Beard wants it back. Fakes the shot from distance. Rifles it into the left corner. Nunez to the driving Andrews, high off the glass. Rebound pulled down. and fouled on the way back up. Osagai, he'll get a chance from the line. 18-16 FIU.
Well, FIU's looking good. And the Hilltoppers in transition. Bassi with the dunk and finish.
2-point lead for the Panthers. 11.5 to go in the first. 18-16 FIU with the lead. Already 7 players have scored for the Panthers right now, although Beard does lead them with 6.
Well, that's important because we know that Brian Beard does it all, but some balance would help.
Charles Bassi does it all in not just one sport. The man from Lagos, Nigeria, through the Aspire Academy. Well, that's how you get it done.
Well, he's showing us some moves there. And I like how dynamic this kid is, and most of all, how much fun he has. And it's important to be able to do a little bit of everything. We see, you know, we talk about his prospects and what he could possibly do in the NBA, but just his overall sheer athleticism is what makes him so attractive.
From the line, Osagai unable to convert the first. And the second hits nothing but net.
Well, Osagai has an interesting story, Phil. I mean, he actually was a walk-on. He just earned a scholarship this past summer, 2018, and is someone that Coach Ballard says really has just put in the work and has honed his craft, spent some time in the gym, and was rewarded with not only a scholarship, but playing time.
Nice spin by Hollingsworth. Beard staying with him. Pick set by Nelson, who's back out there after a brief suspension. Driving in the hole and dropping it home, Lamont Bearden. Quickly down the other way, and dancing in front in time is Nelson to draw the foul. Devon Andrews a little out of control. Andrews now with 2 fouls. Trajan Jacob will check back in. By the way, Bassi sitting with 2 fouls of his own. The more time the big freshman spends on the bench, better for FIU.
Yes, and Phil, of note, number 11, Davion Hollingsworth for the Hilltoppers. He is their leading scorer, and right now he only has 2 points, and his team is only down by 1. I look for him to get hot. He can be a difference maker for this Hilltoppers team.
Trying to clear out space as Smith flipped up off the glass, and now a chance to go to the stripe is Bearden. Gives us a chance to talk about it. What are the keys for Western Kentucky today?
Well, Western Kentucky is really concerned about offense, making shots, right? Coach Stansberry talks about the name of the game is scoring more than the other team. So he likes that his team is getting the looks, but he wants to see them finish.
And also no high-risk passes, stress that, and against one of the top defenses when it comes to turnovers in the nation, you can understand why. First one missed. For FIU, we've already seen they like to play at pace, they like to lift the tempo, but what else do they need to do?
Well, it's going to be about defense for FIU. They want to get stops. That pressure defense that we saw, that's their marquee, but they're concerned about half court being able to stop the Hilltoppers and slow them down, as well as on offense. A key for them is making 3-point shots with consistency.
Oh, beautiful roll underneath by Day, and Bearden whistled over the back.
Well, you see Lamonte Bearden, number 1 for the Hilltoppers. He's returned to play after missing 2 games due to injury. He's been in and out, but I think he can be an X factor for this team. A very capable scorer.
And another miss from the charity stripe. Day averaging 7.5 a game, second on the team in assists. Bearden will take a seat. Back out there, Banton. So 1 of 2. And FIU bringing Isaiah Banks back in. They average 88.5 points a game. Does FIU. Pass underneath to Smith, slapped away by Osagai.
And Osagai running the floor, looking to be rewarded on the offensive end. Outstanding defense.
And they do look to feed the big man, but he was covered. Shot from 3, pulled down by Anderson off the board. Quickly down the other way. Thought about it, Banton. Omer. Smith on the spin, and he goes in on Osagai. Another foul against the Miami native. That's his second.
Well, Osagai has to be careful. He is the rim protector. You can look at him with his length, meets the ball at its apex, denied. But what's most important for him is to be able to be on the floor for the full 40 minutes if available. He's got to stay out of foul trouble.
At his 41st block that you saw, tried to duplicate it and whistled for the foul, and he's going to take a seat. 88.5 points, by the way, 4th in the nation in scoring for FIU. So maybe a little surprised Western doesn't try and slow it down a little bit, like Charlotte did, and almost won.
Yes, it was just a very close game. And I think, though, that Coach Stansbury wants his team to get into a little bit more of a rhythm. He doesn't want to disrupt that.
That Charlotte game, by the way, 8th comeback of the season for FIU. Into the path of Banks. His shot from distance, in and out. Brought down by Banton. Anderson blocked away by Banks.
Well, the activity on the defensive end for FIU has been there. It's going to be about the offensive end of the floor. There's balanced scoring attack, and quite frankly, the opportunities to convert at the free throw line. They've got to be better.
Nice spin by Banton. Tries to force it underneath. Second straight bat away by FIU, down to 13 seconds on the shot clock. And that's something what Jeremy Ballard was looking for. Not just turnovers, not just steals. Make them earn their points.
Absolutely, and getting the stops on the full possession. And so far, I think FIU is hitting all marks in that category.
Banton finds Anderson. 10 on the clock. Back to Anderson. Swing it to Omer. Smith finds an opening, but by pushing off, and they're going to say traveling as well. So a turnover, and the defensive effort, it took a while, but they force another turnover.
Well, that Panther defense is fired up, and Coach Ballard said, you know, I asked, what is your style of play? How would you describe your offense? He said it starts with defense. There is no offense without their performance on the defensive end. So it's, you know, I think that's the reason for their lead right now. They're up 2 points because of their activity on the other end of the floor.
Beard off balance, off target. Now 2 of their last 11 shots. Nearly 4 minutes without a bucket. Otherwise, FIU could have pulled out to a bigger lead. Looking to try and retake from 3. Omer off back iron. Rebound Smith. Anderson with a little hop in the paint, and pulling it away is Banks. Banks averaging only 2 rebounds a game. That's his first. Beard, only 5'10", doesn't look like a dangerous player. Keep looking. And he passes that one underneath for the nice spin to the hole. Dieng on the board.
Well, Beard is deceptive. You know, he may not pass your eye test initially, but if you know basketball, it's not just the ability to score, but how he facilitates and just the command he has over the entire offensive arsenal that he has.
Anderson's pass stolen away by Banks. Has help. Drives to the hole, but he doesn't need it. He will get a chance from the stripe. Lands hard. The foul against Omer, his first, and team 6th.
Well, FIU doing all the dirty work on the defensive end, but they're getting stops and they're getting scores. Western Kentucky
lead,
has something to talk about.
7:50 to go in the half. FIU forcing Western into 5 turnovers already, and still got about 8 minutes to go in the first. FIU trying to pick up its 3rd conference win, climb up the table a little bit. Look at UTSA. Started miserable, but now unbeaten in 7. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Well, UTSA has something special brewing down in San Antonio, but what I'm of note in this graphic, we see FIU sitting at 2-2, but the preseason pick #1 was Western Kentucky, and I do not see them in the top of the standings.
It's something we've talked about the last few weeks. The new schedule with those bonus games at the end. That also brackets into the conference tournament. So you really want to get into that top 5 spot if you want to go and give yourself the best chance of making the NCAA tournament.
And the Hilltoppers have some work to do. Phil, I do not think that their record is really indicative of the talent that they have and what they're capable of. And something they have going in their favor is that they have some home games coming up. They are very heavy on the road to start off, but maybe they can make some things up at home, coming up here in the near future.
And there again, the free throw line stumbling FIU. 5 of 11 free shots missed. Chance from distance. And Hollingsworth hits the bottom of the net. 2-point game. Nice drive by Beard. Goes in amongst the big guys and gets another foul call. Now you can see why they go to the line so much.
It's because the FIU team are so good at penetrating the seams of the defense, and they go to the basket with the intention of seeking contact and finishing, but the free throw line has not been friendly to them.
Beard 73% from the line. Banks will take a seat. The foul against Horton, his first. See a lot of rotation here for FIU. Maybe not significant minutes, but they pretty much go 12 deep. Western a little shorter bench.
And that's because of their style of play. I mean, Coach Ballard goes deep into his bench because he wants them to give their best, their all. They press full court for almost 40 minutes, so he needs as many bodies as he can get.
Hollingsworth fakes the 3, drives to the free throw line. Now he's trapped, goes up. The forced shot doesn't come near the rim, and Day will pick up the loose ball.
The Hilltoppers looking a little out of sorts on the offensive end, not quite sure, where the ball should go. A lot of standing around. They need a little bit more fluidity.
Chance for Day, goes central. Pass off to the left. Nunez again loves those 3-point shots. Maybe a few too much. Down to Anderson, sees a path and draws or commits the contact. Not happy as he slams into Michael Douglas.
Well, Josh Anderson, he's a dynamic playmaker. I think one of their best off the dribble, and someone that likes to not only take, but he can make big shots for his team. So he's frustrated because he knows that they can do better.
Tops on the team in steals, 2nd in blocks, 3rd in assists, and averages about 10 points a game. Anderson with his first point of the night. In and out, and a rebound for Jacob. 16 points for Jacob against ODU. Still looking for his first on the day. Douglas right corner finds the open Day. Nice shot from Jacob. Had the open 3, but can't sink it. Quickly to Banton.
And Phil, I thought the Hilltoppers were at their best when they were able to get out in transition and they were getting their big guys touches on the inside. They've gone away from that recently.
Banton again, now going to the right. Comfortable with either hand. Flips into the corner. Shot from 3 by Jared Savage. His second 3 of the night. And we're tied at 24.
A little inside-out action. One of the best ways to get your shooters going, and a turnover there. Brian Beard with the push-off, I think. And Beard clearly disagreeing with that call.
Less than 6 minutes to go in the opening half. Western overwhelmingly dominant in the all-time series between these two, winning 34 of the prior 41, and they'll get a chance to take the lead here. Falling asleep defensively, and Matt Horton wide open underneath.
And that's the recipe for success for the Hilltoppers. Their bigs move so well with the screen and roll action. Their movement without the ball is excellent, and they're catching that FIU defense falling asleep.
Last meeting back in February of 18, Western won that one. Stretching down the other way, another beautiful pass, and Savage with the dunk. 28-24, largest lead for the Hilltoppers. Beard drives to the hole, back over his head and off the glass and in. 28-26.
So cool, calm, collected, and poised is Brian Beard with that crafty finish. But I like how the Hilltoppers are getting out in transition. That's the name of the game for them this evening.
And FIU needed that bucket by Beard, stopped the bleeding just a bit. We were talking about this before the game. The high pressure defense, the steals, the turnovers. But the key for FIU, especially when you're in the conference and against the better teams, what do you do with it when you've won the ball?
Exactly. What do you do? And I think that the Panthers, you know, they got to make sure that they come down and that they're executing, getting the ball in the hands of their playmakers. And they have done that. And Brian Beard, he is the anchor of their offensive attack. And he's been getting the touches and finishing the shots.
And 25% of their points this season have come off of turnovers. So Jeremy Ballard obviously sees something to that high pressure, high tempo.
Well, that's an incredible stat, Phil. I mean, a quarter of your offense is generated by your defense. And so, you know, we know why they pressure the ball and play the style that they do. I mean, it's necessary for their offense to flow.
Hollingsworth finds Banton, uses the screen, now over to Anderson. Top of the arc, back to Banton, 7 on the shot clock. Thought about it. Dishes to the left and another bucket from distance by Savage. 14 points on the evening.
Jared Savage has found his rhythm. He is filling it up, and he is one of their best shooters from range, you know, with deep range. Got to find him and mark him.
And same story for Nunez. Nunez averaging just under 11 points, now has 6.
Well, Nunez has been in and out of the starting lineup for FIU, and he's hoping to have a healthy season because he was someone that was plagued by injuries last season.
Nice drive by Anderson. Back up by 4. There's a sloppy pass right to Hollingsworth. Scoop to the hoop and the alley-oop. Jared Savage, 16 points.
Boy, oh boy, these Hilltoppers are looking great in transition. They've got to get out and run, and they are finishing strong at the rim.
Nice by Beard, and Osagai stops the bleeding again.
I feel like I need a sign, Phil, for the dunk contest that's on display tonight.
Might have had a couple of 8s, maybe a 9.
Some good ones, putting on a great show. And the Hilltoppers slowing it down. FIU looking to get the stops in the half court. That's a key to the game for them. If they're able to stop the Hilltoppers executing this offense in the half court. Oh, but no, not if Mr. Hollingsworth has something to say and do about that. He's been quiet, and he is ready to heat up with 7 points on the evening.
Now Beard tries to follow up off the glass. Rebound pulled down by Matt Horton. That's up to a 7-point lead for the Tops. Favoring that left-handed dribble, and Banton passing to nobody. So a break in the game, 7-point lead for Western.
Western Kentucky has figured out what transition basketball can do for this team. That's the reason for the 7-point lead. 2.5
left to go in the first. What will Stansbury do? From a 4-point deficit to a 7-point lead. 7 of 7 for Western on their last shots. And with Bassie on the bench. Phil Shane, Megan Perry with you. How have they done it?
Well, they've done it because they figured out how to get easy, high percentage shots in transition. Most of their baskets have been dunks, but Jared Savage has figured out how to score. He's back into his rhythm this evening. And I think what's scary about this for FIU is the fact that Jared Savage has 16 points in the first half. They have a 7-point lead, and Charles Bassie sitting on the bench with only 5 points and a lot of work to do.
And that means that he should be fresh and hungry in the second half.
Absolutely, absolutely.
(38-31), 2.5 left to go in the half.
The Hilltoppers with their own pressure out of the timeout.
Pass into the corner for Andrews. And again, getting boxed out. Can't get the offensive boards. Across midcourt is Banton. And Hollingsworth will run the show. Again, Savage from distance. Front rim. Looking to run FIU. Caught in the air, slapped away.
Well, their primary playmaker, Brian Beard, is not on the floor. So where is the offense going to come from?
Isaiah Banks provides two. Now out for Hollingsworth. Stops, 15-foot jumper, rolls around and drops.
Hollingsworth looking more and more comfortable as this game goes forward.
Now up to 9 points on the night. Day spots a gap, drives into the corner. Cordell Vieira getting out there. In for Andrews, draws contact.
It's a big play by FIU, and I say that because this is danger territory. With about a minute and change before the half, they have two choices. FIU can close the gap, or they can allow this lead to grow, and I think it's important that they keep it under 10 going into the half. So an opportunity to dip into that, cut it down a little bit if they can convert it at the free throw line.
And that is the key for Jeremy Ballard, the 37-year-old Atlanta native. 9th head coach in the history of the franchise. FIU in the middle of an 8-game stretch with 6 on the road. And they know it won't get any easier on the weekend at Marshall.
Not at all. That's a difficult place to play with the Herd. They pack it in there. Their fans definitely have something to do with that game atmosphere, making it one of the tougher places to play in the conference.
Another missed free throw from Beta. Now, chance to stretch the lead for WKU with a minute left in the opening half. Tolu Smith out high. Hollingsworth from 25. 12 points for the Lexington, Kentucky native. Beard back out there. Avoided the travel. Dishes for Andrews.
And the energy that Hollingsworth is bringing on the offense has now translated to the defensive end. His team is fired up, getting stops, and the basket is looking about as big as the ocean for Hollingsworth.
Getting a few slaps of appreciation. 20 points against Marshall in that 1-point loss. Timeout on the floor. We'll keep it here. Well, we talked about some of the keys to the game. For Western, it was making shots. They're hitting 59%. Can't make them much better than that.
Absolutely, and their shots are high percentage shots. A lot of those coming in transition, dunks close to the basket, layups, and they've done an excellent job of being patient and working the ball inside out. They found a lot of success with that as we wind down the first half.
And turnovers. Only 6 for each team right now. And points off of turnovers, Western actually outscoring FIU 9-1. It's not supposed to be that way for the Panthers.
Absolutely not. You know, FIU, typically they turn teams over about 22 times a game, and they have about 11 steals per game. So I definitely think there'll be some conversation in the locker room about their defensive game plan.
About a 15-second difference between the shot clock and the game clock. Western taking their time, trying to get to double digits. And they'll gift wrap it. The nice defense from Beard. And in the bonus. Nunez checking in. Danger from 3.
And I imagine that the ball will be in the hands of their leading scorer. I look for Brian Beard to get the last touch here, Phil.
10 seconds to go. Beard flips it underneath, and a chance for Dieng, who draws contact. Foul against Tolu Smith. Now that could be an issue. Bassey, Horton, Beard, and now Smith with 2 fouls. But again, they need to hit their shots from the line. Dieng only 39% from the charity stripe. And that did not look nice.
That's tough because FIU definitely has some missed opportunities at the free throw line, and we talked about these close matchups. Towards the end of the game, you look back and the free throws oftentimes are all the difference.
That backspin doesn't work when he hits off iron both times. Maybe a last gasp for Hollingsworth. 1 second, and he can't get the shot away as he slips on the court. So Western trailed by as many as 8, and they lead by 9 at the half.
I thought that FIU got off to a great start, but then kind of sputtered towards the end of the first half, and you have to really credit the Hilltoppers, how they got out in transition, and the re-emergence of Jared Savage with 16 points, and it's only halftime, Phil.
Beard leading FIU with 10, but it's not enough. Some work to do for the Panthers, and can the Toppers stay on top? It's 43-34 at the half. Western Kentucky in the lead. Western Kentucky pulling back, and it will be a comeback for one of these teams, as has been near double digits both ways. But the Hilltoppers with the edge, and Rick Stansbury has to be happy. The 59-year-old from Battletown, Kentucky, in his 14th year as a coach, his 3rd with the Hilltoppers, but he's not the first Stansbury at Western Kentucky. Colonel Edgar B. Stansbury was his great uncle back in the 1920s as a player for the state championship football team. Also played basketball and baseball, returned in the 30s as an assistant coach for those teams, even 3 years as a tennis coach before going to the military and then coming back as the athletic director following World War II. Inducted into Western's Hall of Fame in '94, and if you take a look upstairs at E.A. Diddle, the 2nd level concourse named after him. Who knows? Maybe Rick Stansbury might even get something named if he can keep up a few more of these wins, and things looking good for Stansbury and the Hilltoppers at the break. Plenty more action coming your way, Megan, and really looking forward to next week as we will get the chance to see UAB in North Texas.
Well, North Texas is brewing something special. They're playing possibly their best basketball of the year, Phil, and Zach Bryant and UAB, they're making a run for that top 5 into the standings for Conference USA, so we're going to have a good one.
And then the Thundering Herd will follow. They'll play UTEP and North Texas in back-to-back B-in encounters, and then the Miners will take on La Tech, licking their wounds a little bit from last week. FIU coming in, looking to try and get back on track after that hard luck loss against ODU, but they need to play smarter in the second half. It's 43-34, Western Kentucky at the break. Well, there, as you see, there's a bit of NCAA history with Western Kentucky, and right now trying to make a little bit more history around the nation. They're talking about Syracuse knocking off top-ranked Duke. Surprised by that one, I'd say, would be an understatement.
Yeah, I think a lot of basketball fans are surprised, but however, we know what Coach Boeheim is capable of, and Syracuse is a team you never know about as you get closer and closer to March. They always figure out how to put it together.
There, as far as the ACC, Mike Cronin and South Florida getting tossed. Haith Hurley as well last night. Upset bug also biting in the Big 12 as Kansas State knocks off Oklahoma, and Iowa State with the shocker against Texas Tech.
Well, a lot of big basketball being played in the Big 12, but also let's talk about the matchup that I know is on everyone's mind. The University of Virginia, currently the Wahoos, with the #1 defense, I would say. They hold teams to about 51 points per game, and the Wahoos looking to take on Duke and make sure that they hold on to that #1 ranking in the coaches poll and possibly move up in the AP poll.
Again, plenty going on in Conference USA as well. And Javon Jackson lighting it up. The UTSA star averaging over 20 points in back-to-back wins over Rice and North Texas. And as you see, a couple of notes down, after starting poorly. Now 7 wins in a row for the Roadrunners.
Well, Conference USA, you've been put on notice because UTSA is sitting at the top of the standings. They are the hottest team in the conference as of now, and they're looking to hold on to that. As we mentioned, Phil, with the scheduling, they're looking pretty good to make out, round out that top 5.
And as we said, it's important for Western to try and turn their losing streak around. Same for Middle Tennessee. You want to try and get in the top 5, at least in the top 10 when it comes to seeding for the conference tournament at the end. And Middle right now 13 in a row in the loss column. They'll try and turn that around tonight against the high-flying Runners. So right now FIU and Western trying to turn around some bad turns, and it's the toppers with the big lead. Can they hold on this time? 43-34 at the half. 16 points for Savage on the night. Conference USA basketball on beIN Sports. FIU coming in 11-6, 2-2 in conference, and they have struggled away from home, winning just 2 of their 6. Western, meanwhile, nearly unbeaten at home, 4-1, but 8-8 overall and just 1-2. But this is their home opener in conference play, and here's the way things look statistically. And you look at that field goal percentage for FIU. It's a little below, but for Western at 59%, you're going to win a lot of games.
Absolutely. I think for both teams, they're doing a pretty good job of executing their game plans. But for the Hilltoppers, they are really lighting it up. 59% says 2 things to me. It says that you're not only taking the best shot, you're obviously making it, but they're high percentage baskets.
And there you take a look at the 2 high scores on this, and getting 16 points from Savage is great. Hollingsworth chipping in with 12. They were able to build this lead with their star freshman Bassie only playing 8 minutes in the first half.
And that's what's most impressive about this effort. I mean, Jared Savage kind of carrying the weight while Bassie is on the bench. And for the Panthers, I think that Brian Beard has done his job, but they're going to need a little bit extra from him this evening if they're going to pull off the upset on the road.
We'll find out who will be able to do it. 17 tries from the free throw line and only hitting 8. Again, it could be worse because Western 5 of 12 from the free throw line. 43-34. WKU with the lead. The second half underway right after this. Western Kentucky trail by 8. They now lead by 9. Phil Shane, Megan Leary with you on USA on beIN Sports. How did Western get it done?
Western Kentucky did an amazing job of getting out in transition. I thought that their play in the open floor was excellent, getting high percentage shots. But even more than that, in the half court, I was really pressed with something that doesn't show up in the stat sheet, and that's off-ball movement. How well the bigs were moving without the ball, getting positioning. They really did a good job of setting themselves up early for success.
And again, hitting shots as they did 8, or maybe 9 of their last 10. Going into the half. Easy way to turn things around. 60% from behind the arc, just 29% for FIU. So doesn't matter what the score is at the half. Got to be leading at the final buzzer, as both of these teams learned the hard way last week.
It's about playing a full 40 minutes of basketball, and the beauty of basketball is that there's 2 halves to this game, so a chance to clear the slate.
Hollingsworth tries the quick 3. Chance for FIU. Do you slow it down a bit if you're the Panthers?
I don't. I think you speed it up because that's what they've been doing all season long. I think they like that up-tempo style. It really favors their lineup.
Bassie, nice spin, draws contact. Won't get the bucket, but he'll get the chance from the line.
Charles Bassie getting to work early in the second half. I like that he's getting touches early on, a chance to establish his rhythm after sitting out for a long time in the first half.
And by the way, that might have also been precautionary, not just fouls. Remember against Marshall last week, had a knee injury in the first half, hits the first, and still came back in the second. 16 points, 8 boards, and 2 assists against the Herd. Now Bassie up to 6 points on the evening.
And it's hard to believe sometimes when you watch him, Phil. He's just a freshman, and he just turned 18 years old this past October. So he's really young, raw talent with a really strong upside.
But also as an international player, that forces maturity on you. And the Nigerian native has displayed that here tonight. Nice chance for Day, but can't hit it. They're getting shots, but Western's the one that's sinking them. Hollingsworth flips it far side, back from Banton through Hollingsworth. Anderson into the left corner for Savage, back to the right wing and up and off target is Hollingsworth. FIU needs to take advantage with Western missing some of these early shots.
They do, and they've got to get the ball to their scorers. Beard is on the court, and he has not gotten a touch in this possession. I think they've got to do a better job, the Panthers do, of getting him the ball.
Day trying the acrobatics down the other end. Anderson drawing contact, and that's going to be big. Beard with his third foul.
Something that the Panthers cannot afford, and you're sending Josh Anderson to the line. In transition, you see Josh Anderson getting to the rim. That's where the Hilltoppers are at their best. And the big part of that, as you mentioned, Phil, is Beard's third foul. So is he going to play through, or is Coach Ballard going to give him a seat on the bench?
Well, right now it's already a double-digit lead. Nunez back out there, the Orlando native. I think Ballard realizes he needs to let his senior show some maturity and not pick up that fourth.
Well, a big part of Brian Beard's game is how he penetrates, and you know, he's so effective off the bounce. So he's going to have to be careful not to pick up an offensive foul. He's going to have to be more conservative even on the offensive end of the floor.
Nunez tries from distance. Was touched before Savage could get to it, so fresh shot clock for the Panthers.
I would like to see FIU get to the offensive glass a little bit more. It's oftentimes one and done with just 4 offensive rebounds on the evening. I think they need second and third opportunities.
Beard flips it up. Nice try for Osagai, but contact underneath. Bassi with the foul. That's his third.
So it might just be about who can stay on the floor the longest this evening, Phil, because the fouls are racking up for both teams.
Osagai 59% from the charity stripe. Grew up in Miami. Went to little school, Morgan High School. Played at Southridge before walking on to FIU. Got a scholarship last year and carried over into this year with Jeremy Ballard taking over the Panthers program.
Well,
double team.
His teammates like to call him the Big O, so if you don't like to say his last name, you can certainly shorten it to the Big O. He will definitely answer you, but he's been impressive and has been playing organized basketball for about 5 years. So I think tremendous growth for him.
Hollingsworth thought about it, passes off at the last minute. Anderson wasn't ready. Chance on the turnover, going coast to coast and scooping it home is Andrews, and he draws contact. A chance for 3 the old-fashioned way.
Pace and tempo is a major key to this game, and I think the Panthers are at their best when they're playing an up-tempo style of basketball.
This could trim the lead to 7.
See them getting out in transition. Andrews with the finish, with the contact at the rim, and an opportunity to convert at the free throw line, which has not been so friendly to the Panthers.
Banton's first foul. Andrews 68% on the year. Now 3 of 6 on the game. Poked away, and they're going to say off the knee of Banton. Another turnover. So Jeremy Ballard trying to bring them back to their A game.
Well, it's ready for the taking. The Panthers are getting every opportunity. And for the Hilltoppers, we'll be reminded of what Coach Stansberry shared with us earlier this week. As he talked about playing a full 40 minutes, not 34, 35 minutes. He wants a concentrated 40-minute effort for his team, and they're having a few lapses now.
Beard thought there was contact. Officials said no. Wide open in the corner, Savage in and out. Those were going in the first half, but a turnover. Beard was leaning. Anderson read it, finds Bassey, who misses the dunk. Anderson steals, spin, off glass and in.
Nice finish from Josh Anderson at the rim, but sloppy play from both teams and a missed opportunity for the Panthers.
Huge bucket for Anderson. Up to 7, and now another turnover. Bassey with a chance. Both coaches letting their star players stay out there with 3 fouls, and it's paying off for Western Kentucky. Kicked away. 10-point lead again.
Well, even more importantly, I think the Panthers have done a good job of keeping this Diddle Arena crowd out of the game. I mean, they can be an X factor, and so I think that they have to do a much better job of continuing to kind of control the pace and tempo and lessen their turnovers, because what you don't want is to get this crowd into the game and get this place rocking.
6'5" senior Michael Douglas out of Saxey, Texas. Anderson spots the gap. Looked like there was a bump. Kelly Self said no. He's the only one that counts. Driving to the baseline and curling around Antonio Day. Here is Douglas. From 3, it's Jacob. Hits it off the rim. Lofted into the corner for Anderson. To the free throw line. Off balance jumper and in, and Anderson's found his range.
Anderson got exactly where he wanted to on the court. He identified his spot and he converted.
Thought about shooting it, did Nunez, but realized he was too close. So passes it back to Jacob. 15 on the shot clock.
I like the ball movement from the Panthers.
See if they can weave a bucket, but barreling through the defense, El Hadji Dieng, and there's a timeout on the court. 12-point lead for the Tops.
Well, the lead has come because of the rhythm of Josh Anderson and them getting out and finishing strong at the rim. The Hilltoppers looking great. It's 50-38, WKU over the Panthers.
(50-38). FIU had a chance to cut the lead to 7, but Josh Anderson took over, Megan.
Well, Josh Anderson has been dynamic, and what I love is how he's picking and choosing his spots on the floor.
Charlotte again coming close, but falling against Southern Miss. Marshall pulling away from FAU. ODU another 1-point win over La Tech this time. And look at Middle Tennessee. Bottom team in Conference USA taking on the leaders, and they are leading in the second half. And UTEP and UAB, low scoring affair early in the second.
Well, if Middle Tennessee can knock off UTSA, I think that would be a really big shakeup into the conference standings, and it really speaks to the depth of Conference USA. You've got to bring your game every night, because you never know. If you don't come ready, you can get knocked off any night.
And FIU learning that the hard way here. Chance for WKU to climb back up to 2-2 in conference. Their home opener. Nice play by Banton, but he can't hold on. Slapped away.
Well, Phil, there was a lot of talk early on about FIU because of their high-scoring offense. They had multiple games where they scored over 100 in their non-conference play, but since entering conference play, the offense has stalled a bit, and we're seeing that a little bit this evening.
It's the strength of schedule, and you can understand Ballard, his first year, wanting to build some confidence. Ball underneath for Bassey, but well read by Nunez. Now what do the Panthers do? Driving to the hole and handing it off to Banton. Beautiful steal as he strips Day down the other way for Hollingsworth. And Western starting to run away with it.
That's just beautiful basketball. Less dribbling, more passing out in the open floor. Just great play by the Hilltoppers.
Osagai underneath. Had Bassey one-on-one, but looked like Savage coming in to commit the foul.
And I like the activity on the inside from Osagai. He is moving well without the basketball, working to establish position early. But let's see if he can reward himself at the free throw line.
He is struggling there, as is FIU. 3 for 5 from the line for Osagai. 10 of 21 for the Panthers.
That's 48%. Falling under that 50% mark is rough. And I will say, as a former player, but not the best free throw shooter. Okay, I will admit that it's an area that's free. Like, you have to figure out a way to convert at a better rate. So not that you have to be 100%, but I think 60, 70, 80% is about where they need to be.
Both of these teams at 50. Otherwise, we would be in a much higher scoring affair. Hollingsworth a little off balance, and it bounds away. FIU will get it. Can they take advantage of the gift?
And if they are going to take advantage, they've got to do it a little bit faster. FIU has really been relegated to a half-court game, right? And that is not their bread and butter.
But as you mentioned, it's because Beard, with 3 personal fouls, needs to play a bit more conservatively.
Absolutely, and we see that in the half court, the Hilltoppers are able to limit Beard's touches. And if you're just going to continue to send them to the free throw line, if it's a numbers game, I'll take it if I'm Coach Stansbury, because they've proven to not have a lot of success at the charity stripe.
Nice pass by Nunez, and again going to the big man Osagai.
Well, the opportunities are there for Osagai, but it's about finishing.
And that had the heart twitching just a little bit. The other key point as well is these shots are with the clock stopped.
And he rattles one in there. And even more importantly, when you make your free throws and make your shots, you can set your defense, as now FIU with their first opportunity to set that full court press.
Good push by Banton. Goes to Hollingsworth. Bumped as he tries to shoot. The follow-up buried again. Savage up to a 14-point lead. Driving the baseline, Andrews. Off to Osagai, and that's how you get it done. 2 for 2 from the field.
Osagai has to continue to work. They have to continue to push the pace and tempo, run the floor, be aggressive, get in passing lanes. They cannot allow their energy level to drop. This is where you have to have a gut check moment and really dig in. And Bassey fighting on the inside for positioning with Osagai. I love the matchup of the bigs.
Hollingsworth, Beard on him. Gets the shot away with 1 on the shot clock. I can't sink it. Tipped away by Osagai. Beard with the flip. Rebound, Osagai off the glass. And they're going to call a foul against WKU. Osagai, a one-man wrecking crew here in the half.
He's doing it on both ends of the floor. He is busy on the interior on offense and on defense. He's acting as that rim protector and clearing the glass. And Coach Stansbury gotta be kind of, you know, twiddling his thumbs a little bit, because we talked about how, unfortunately, Western Kentucky has not been the best with large leads.
Anderson trying to close the deal.
But if you're going to do it like that, you'll have no problem. Anderson's so dynamic. He has been electric tonight and really just doing nasty, dirty work on the inside, flying through the air with those dunks.
10th dunk, looking to make it 11, but has to switch to the layup. It goes in clean, and Anderson up to 13 points.
What a smooth finish. And Anderson, he's a big-time playmaker for the Hilltoppers. He does it with such ease, such grace, so dynamic on the floor.
And again, for FIU, they can sense it slipping. 12 minutes left in the game. Into the corner for Andrews, trying from 3.
And this is where they created separation in the first half, Phil, in transition, getting 2 feet into the paint.
Offensive rebound by Anderson, but it goes off of his foot and out. 58-44, 12 left.
Josh Anderson has been the difference. He's getting out in transition and has his Hilltoppers leading the Panthers 58-44.
Well, Bowling Green, Kentucky might be known as the Corvette capital of America, but Rick Stansbury trying to top that with Western Kentucky. And to this point, he's done well. This is a young team. They're bringing in a good recruiting class next year, including a key transfer from Kentucky. And as you see there, 7 top 20 recruiting classes as a head coach, including both of the last 2 seasons at Western. The Hilltoppers might be on the climb.
I think they are. Rick Stansbury's building something really special with this Hilltoppers program. But for him, he talks about this young team, and something you can't really teach is experience, right? Either you have it or you don't. But a lot of growth moments and opportunities for big learnings for this very young team. And I think that this evening is one of them, learning to play a full 40 minutes of basketball, execute your game plan, and see what that gets you, a healthy lead.
Something that Jeremy Ballard is also learning the hard way with this FIU squad. Now, at the same point, they do have the victories which will help them overall. They need to pile up a few in conference when it comes to that, but that strong strength of schedule has led to 8 defeats in their first 16. Beard off balance, off target, loose on the floor, tied up, nope, and now it will be possession FIU.
Well, the Hilltoppers, we mentioned earlier, you know, Phil, I don't think that their record is really indicative of how good they are. They're sitting at 11th in the Conference USA standings, but I think we're going to see that change. I don't think where they start is going to be where they finish, and it has to do with the challenges they faced in the non-conference schedule.
And owning your home court, if they can hold on here, 5-1, not bad. And this home court at the EA Diddle, rebuilt back in 2003, over 7,500 seats. Well, it was less than half full before he got there, only about 3,900 in the 16-17 season. It went up to over 5,500 last year, and I would not be surprised if they start to make a push, if they even get closer to 6,000 a game. Nice try here, off balance. Tolu Smith goes back into the hole and takes the hack.
Well, these Hilltopper fans, they like great basketball, and this is a fun team to watch. We've seen them get up and down the floor. They run and gun the dunks, and there's a young fellow by the name of Charles Bassey that is getting a lot of attention, and I think that has a lot to do with why so many fans are packing Diddle Arena.
And then the question becomes, as Bassey on the bench, from what we have seen to this point, midway through his freshman year, you can see the potential, you can see the talent, but maybe not quite enough for a move to the NBA after 1 year, which means that Stansbury can build this team around him.
Oh, this is a dangerous team with Charles Bassey. If he decides to stay around, if he doesn't make the hop to the NBA, I think there's definitely some room for growth, and he can be a more polished player transitioning to the next level where it is a lot more physical, faster play, and you've got to have a solid command of not just the inside game, but the perimeter game as well.
Spinning to the inside, Devin Andrews into the corner, and a little push underneath. Flying into the bench was Willie Nunez. And Anderson with the foul, his second. There, Bassey, 4-time freshman of the week in conference. And mentioned in the top 20 in the nation in blocks, top 50 in 5 categories as a freshman.
Well, he's a load to handle, and even more, you know, it's not necessarily what he's doing always in the scoring column or rebounding or blocks. It's merely his presence on the floor, Phil. The defense that he draws literally by walking on the floor opens up other opportunities for his teammates.
Something right there. Willie Nunez hitting from the free throw line, something that's eluded FIU. He's the top free throw shooter, but all of his shots coming from distance. You'd figure sooner or later they'd try and find a way to drive him into traffic.
Well, we'll see. The game is about adjustment, so I'll be looking for that adjustment. Let's keep our eye on that.
Ball whipped down for Hollingsworth, continues into the corner. The alley-oop, but off glass. Maybe a back in, though, and a foul against Dieng.
My goodness, and that gets the Hilltopper players on the bench off their feet. My goodness, if that had gone down, I think the whole place would have exploded. Look at the elevation, the setup, and Smith cocking it back, just hitting it off the back of the rim.
But you can see Dieng did back in, which forced the adjustment, and that's the reason for the foul. Unable to convert, though, Tolu Smith, only 50% for the Bowling Green native.
Listen, if I know that's coming at me, I'll tell you, I'm getting out of the way.
Still have the camera, though, to show you were there.
That's only briefly. If you can fly like that, I wouldn't want to be up underneath all that. I'll just tell you that much.
Over for Day across as Western starting to pick the pressure up at midcourt. Trying to make FIU sweat for every point. Day scoops up off glass and iron and in, draws the foul against Smith.
I'll tell you something, as we were watching this game, Phil, I think that when the Hilltoppers pressure FIU and try to speed them up, I actually think that's to the Panthers' advantage. The problem is that when the Panthers get to the paint, they don't convert and get to the free throw line, they're not making their shots. They're not able to take advantage of it.
Day 57% from the line on the year, 1 of 2 tonight. And you can see Stansbury talking to Smith about that very thing. Well, don't look now, but it's an 11-point game. And for a team that blew a 21-point lead 2 games ago and a 16-point lead in the second last, FIU's not out of this.
Yes, no lead is safe because of what? Because of the three-point ball and how quickly things can change when that's flying through the hole correctly.
Anderson back out there. Over to the near side for Bearden. Savage trying to go underneath to Bassi. Well read by Day, who cuts in front of the big man, draws a foul, and now Bassi with his 4th.
And that's just not a smart play. That's a growth moment for Charles Bassi. No reason to foul an FIU player so close to the half court. And not only that, picking up your 4th foul.
Smart play by Day, though, to draw the contact.
Absolutely. You see Day towing the baseline, getting out in transition and leaning in, getting in front of the big guy. A savvy, veteran-like move by the freshman.
And Bassi back to the bench, and Stansbury just some soft words. And sometimes when the coach speaks softly, he's screaming inside.
Absolutely. It's all about tone. I would say that a coach that speaks a little bit softer in tone, when I come off the court onto the bench, I'm a little bit more on edge about what they have to say than if they're screaming and shouting.
Again, splitting the free throws down into the corner. Contact against Bearden. Nunez saying wasn't me. Mentioned 34 wins for Western all time against FIU to only 7 defeats. And FIU has lost 6 of the last 8 meetings, 14 of the last 17. They trail by 10 midway through this second half.
Well, 10 minutes is a lot of time left on the clock, and I sense a shift in momentum.
Savage trying to put that to bed, and from distance he does.
Jared Savage has been doing that all night long. He has been the momentum killer for sure.
Bounce into the corner. Nunez from distance. And he follows suit with a 3 of his own. And Nunez with 12.
Nunez fired up about that, and I think that that's going to translate to some defensive energy. Forcing the turnover here. Things getting sloppy. And I think this is an opportunity for Western Kentucky to slow things down a little bit, because the Panthers are looking to speed them up, and that energy is translating for them into offensive opportunities.
13 turnovers so far against Western. FIU is 10 20 turnover games. Need a few more here. Dieng dishes back. Andrews drives, turns, hits iron, rebound underneath by Dieng, draws contact, and another foul.
It's so interesting because I think the free throw line is really going to be a major factor as we come down to the last couple minutes of the second half. It's because the Panthers are getting the opportunities, Phil. They're getting the shots that they want, and they're getting more confidence with every opportunity. And soon I think we're going to start to see them finish these shots.
Dieng 0 for 2 from the line. And you could see his teammates trying to build the confidence with the 6'11" senior.
And Coach Ballard rolling the die at this point, inserts Brian Beard back into the lineup with his 3 personal fouls. He can very easily pick up the 4th.
They get the rebound. Nunez tries. Dieng with a double team, but they get the ball away. Hollingsworth across midcourt. And Western dodges a bullet. Driving to the free throw line, switching hands underneath. And a nice bucket for Bearden. 66-54. A push underneath. And Bearden, just as soon as he hits the bucket, commits the foul. By my count, that's his third.
Well, Bearden getting 2 feet into the paint, and with a little hesitation there, double clutch, finds the backboards, able to finish that shot.
Already in the bonus. Can they take advantage?
Well, they're starting to find a rhythm. I think if they can convert just a little bit more, if they can get that free throw percentage up to about 65–70%, I think this is a different game.
Well, they're 63% this half. Soft off the front of the rim, and it falls, and it's back to a 10-point game. They have not led since 6 minutes left to go in the first.
And the signature pressure defense by the Panthers, just forcing the Hilltoppers to think about it a little bit more, get uncomfortable, and do what we talked about, Phil. And not necessarily get the turnover, but get the stop.
A few fouls to give away, but that was a cheap one by Dieng. Hollingsworth drawing contact.
And it's important for both teams to remain poised here. You see Dieng a little frustrated as we're winding down. Things are getting a little bit chippy. Both teams have to maintain their composure as the referees look to tighten it up a bit.
Stansbury having a chat. Taking a look, Middle Tennessee holding off late, charged by UTSA, and the Roadrunners stopped. And Middle with its first conference win of the year.
That's a huge win. The bottom of the conference taking down the very top of the conference. We mentioned the depth of this league and how you have to come ready every single night.
Checking this last foul to see if there might have been some intent. Dieng seeming to catch Hollingsworth in the face.
I didn't see the foul at the moment, and not sure what angle the referees are looking at, but any contact that is above and or around the shoulder, especially the head area, is very sensitive and will be most likely an automatic flagrant if they determine that is what happened.
Looks like just the 1-and-1, says Kelly Self. So Stansbury will settle for that and a chance to stretch the lead. Both teams in the bonus now.
And as we get down closer to the end of the game, those reviews are significant because they act as timeouts, right? At a time where FIU was starting to gain a little momentum, we'll see how that affects them because Coach Stansbury had a chance to gather his team as well as Coach Boward in that stoppage of play.
First one in and out, so FIU a chance to cut into this double-digit lead.
And we talked about FIU from the free throw line, but for the Hilltoppers, not much better. They're shooting 52% on the night from the line.
Nunez talked about him maybe backing in. Dishes off today, drives into the paint, and was fouled another chance. You can see how they are fourth in the nation from getting to the line.
It's all about positioning your body, knowing how to draw the contact, just savvy basketball. But as a player, when you get a feel for how the game is being called, if you think it's being called a little bit more tightly, you have to make the adjustment. You have to kind of understand the flow of play and not really fall what I would call victim to a really tightly called match.
Another double team into the corner. They find Hollingsworth. He spins, tries to take care of business himself, but it's blocked away. Back up court is Andrews, and flying home, slamming it through himself. It's down to a 6-point game, and the knees have to be knocking for the Hilltoppers.
That was a grown man move. And a huge momentum swing for FIU, as we talked about it, slowly chipping it away, and with each opportunity they were getting more and more confident.
6-point run over the last minute. Hollingsworth trying to stop it. From distance, Savage rather tame. Andrews pulls down the board.
This is familiar territory for both teams.
Beard flips it to the corner. Nunez off balance. Seemed to be fouled, or was it underneath against Tolu Smith? But Western Kentucky scrambling at the moment.
Well, there's been a shift in momentum here. FIU trying to climb their way back, and they're doing it in transition with the grown man dunk.
Down to a 6-point game with 7.5 to go. Six-point run over the last minute and a half, and just when you thought it was safe for Western Kentucky, the Panthers claw back.
This Panthers team is relentless in how they're able to turn teams over and score in the open court. But of note, WKU, the Hilltoppers have been here before. Look at this graphic here. Two of their last two losses have been by 3 points or less. So this is an area where I think Coach Stansbury wants to see some growth for from his team. Learn from those mistakes and close out these games.
And the key point you saw there behind Bassey, or behind Stansbury, was Bassey a moment ago. He is out there with 7.5 left to go, and he's carrying 4 fouls. So they're going to risk it.
And the Panthers are going to attack by all means. I definitely think that Coach Ballard is going to be talking to his bigs about going inside, penetrating, and trying to draw that 5th foul on Charles Bassey. Osagai,
12 points, had 18 earlier this year, season high. And he's been integral, 9 rebounds in his 19 minutes. Banton over for Anderson, who's gone a bit chilly. Bassey out. Banton, Savage, Hollingsworth fakes. Beard has to be careful. He's got 3. In fact, 4 of the 5 on the floor for the Panthers have 3 fouls. From distance, in and out. Day pulls it down across midcourt. Isaiah Banks will pull it back, and they'll build off the shot clock.
Brian Beard coming to get the ball. This is their best playmaker for the Panthers.
Beautiful pass underneath, and Osagai is the guy. Down to a 3-point game.
Flawless execution in the half court, and you can see Brian Beard just salivating because it's not just what he can do in the scoring column, but he is a master facilitator.
Well, Western Kentucky had a 16-point lead, the same as they had in the second half last game, only to fall. Shot from Hollingsworth, and it seems like there's a lid on the bucket for the Toppers.
Well, the Panthers are playing with just a sense of urgency that we have not seen from them of late.
Quickly back to Beard, who's had to play provider. Almost does it again, but Osagai sees it slip off the fingertips, or this would have been a 1-point game.
The Panthers are going inside to Osagai, and a turnover by the Hilltoppers, but they're going to continue to go to the inside to attack Bassey, who they know cannot defend and pick up that 5th foul.
Talked with Rick Stansbury earlier this week about the 21-point lead they let go against Old Dominion. He said, well, that's never happened because I've never led by 21. 21-0 make that.
It's a whole different ball game right now. 3-point lead. Western Kentucky just trying to hold on their home floor.
And can they do it? It's 66-63, less than 6 minutes to go from Diddle Arena. Stay with us on beIN Sports. See, you're not the only Big Red around here, Megan.
There's another with the Hilltoppers. They're all family, you know.
66-63, and we're going to get into how they did this. But take a look, because coming up next, it's a double dip. The women get underway with Western at FIU coming up next on beIN Sports. But looking at the stats right now, they are 4th in the nation in free throw attempts, averaging about 28 a game. They're up to 38 a game, 38 tonight, and hitting 58% of them.
Well, the free throw stats are crazy, and right now what I'm looking at is FIU, they've made 22 of their 38 free throws, and that's more makes than even Western Kentucky has attempted. Western Kentucky only has 21 free throw attempts on the night.
Averaging 38% from the field today. Down to 3. They could tie it up here.
Look for the pick and roll. FIU looking to attack Bassey on the inside because he cannot afford to foul.
Osagai a little too hard, and Western with a break.
And the adjustment that I saw in that last play is Western Kentucky did not allow Bassey to continue to roll with Osagai. He switched off, which meant that someone else had to defend the interior.
Going for the steal, and Andrews leaves an uncontested dunk for Bassey. That's his first points of the second half. 8 on the game. 5 minutes left. If you're FIU, do you go for the jugular?
I think there's a lot of time left, just under 5 minutes. There's so many possessions left to be had. You have to be patient.
Flipping it back behind his back. Day drives off balance and in.
The Panthers are getting whatever they want on the interior. Anytime that Bassey is at the rim, he's pretty much saying, Olay, go ahead, because I can't touch you, and they are taking full advantage of that.
Day with 11, 4 Panthers in double digits right now. And you see Western trying to bleed the clock a bit. Just over 10 on the shot clock. Anderson stuck on 13. Pass to Banton. Gets it back from Hollingsworth. Drives baseline on Osagai and flips it up and in.
It's a nice finish on the inside. Both teams switching on defense, causing a lot of mismatches on the floor.
Beard, second try, the charm for Andrews. And as you pointed out, those little pick and rolls open all night.
Well, it's practically like having a wide open lane because Bassey cannot make his presence known. He can barely move because they don't want to risk him picking up that 5th foul. So whether you're guard or forward, attack the rim because you're going to get an open shot.
And an uncontested lay-in the other way. Banton now up to 4 points on the game. Lead back to 5. Beard bounces it, and Osagai can't hold on. Well, they're coming close, 72-67.
Coach Ballard encouraging his team, keep on the attack because they are definitely changing the tide here.
3.5 left to go at Diddle Arena. Stay with us. Hilltoppers to this point surviving a Panthers surge. Cats are doing it without their third leading scorer, Trajan Jacob, who is pointless at the moment. FIU, though, still trails by 5, 3.5 to go.
Well, I think FIU is playing great basketball. They have 5 players, I believe, at double figures right now. So the balanced scoring attack has really been effective, and I've been most impressed by their paint points.
Osagai, 9 rebounds. Andrews, 7. Although with turnovers, and they've forced 15, only 4 points off turnovers. So I have a feeling whoever loses this game is going to think they let one slip away.
They are, and it's going to come at the free throw line. You see Osagai, 16 missed free throws. Sir, is unacceptable, but he has an opportunity to make up for that with the last few minutes here. 3 minutes and change left on the clock.
Pressure as they break midcourt. Bassey again playing with 4 fouls as he has much of the second half. Anderson tries to dish it off, but sends it right to Andrews. Andrews off today, scoops off the glass and in, and it's back down to 3.
The level of difficulty on that finish by Day, I don't think he's going to get enough credit for that, but boy, that was a strong finish on a very high level.
Nadia Comaneci territory.
It definitely was, my goodness.
Hollingsworth, as Western tries to settle in a half court, spins. They're almost daring him to shoot from there. Bassey having to play out of the paint. Spotting the run of Banton, but can't get it to him. 9 on the shot clock.
FIU switching. There's a major mismatch on the interior.
From 22, the follow-up, and it rattles off the rim and down to Andrews with another board, his 8th.
The Panthers can attack. The lane is wide open. No rim protector.
But he lost his footing as he slams into Banton. Down the other way, ripped away and stolen. Cleanly, said the ref. Day drives, scoops. It's a one-point game.
And that was a risky move there. We saw Bassey on the other end. It looks like Hollingsworth is down. Didn't see him go down, but he's struggling.
2 minutes, and he's going to draw the attention of the referees and limp to the bench. Might be worth taking another look, but it seemed as though there was contact. The referee's a lot closer than we are, though.
It was difficult from our vantage point to see. It looked like he fell. Hollingsworth
might have gotten stepped on, might have slipped.
An awkward fall, and sometimes it looked like he's holding his left ankle a bit, so maybe that twisted. Yeah, he's not able to put pressure on that left leg, so that seems to be the problem.
And the 6'2" sophomore is vital. 35 minutes so far. Only Savage with more for the Tops. Someone's going to need to step up if Hollingsworth can't continue over these final 2 minutes.
Well, Hollingsworth, as we mentioned before, is this team's leading scorer, so he is definitely someone that is needed on the floor, but other players stepping up for the Hilltoppers.
He's going to head to the locker room, and there's not a lot of time to get him back. Leading scorer on the team, second leading rebounder, second leading assist man, second leading steals. Hollingsworth, 14 points on the game, and it looks like he's done. 1 point game, Western holding on by a thread.
Well, the Panthers can taste it, and with Hollingsworth off the floor, I look to number 4. Josh Anderson for the Hilltoppers is one of their best playmakers. Plays big-time basketball, not afraid of the big moment.
Day stripping it away from Bassey.
And watch for the pick and roll.
Driving in is Beard. The follow-up, Osagai, and FIU is back in front.
The Panthers are in attack mode. They are full head down, moving as fast as they can towards the rim, and if you don't stop them, that's what's going to happen.
Their first lead since 6 minutes left in the first half. A smile on Beard's face you can see from here. To the inside, Savage. Bearden getting the moments now that Hollingsworth can't continue. Tries to drive inside and does draw contact. Take another look at Osagai.
Well, Beard just attacking that screen, finished with the left, and then Osagai following with the hard slam, finishing emphatically at the rim.
Anderson thought he had the block. Instead, it was almost like an alley-oop. And Osagai, 16 points on the evening. Bearden, 72% from the line. That's going to help.
On the defensive end of the floor, the Panthers have to tighten up. They're switching screens, and every time that there's a pick and roll and they switch, that leaves a mismatch on the interior that Bassey can take full advantage of.
Well, back out there, looks like they might have done a quick tape job on Hollingsworth, but whether he'll be able to continue, still to be seen. Just over 60 seconds to go. Both of these teams heartbreaking losses. FIU had a lead with just over a second to go and lost against ODU. It was a 16-point lead dropped against Marshall by Western Kentucky. Another hand to face, it appeared. 57 seconds left on the game clock. Beard down in a heap.
Well, Brian Beard, so active. The ball's in the right hand for the Panthers, and he was very busy crossing up. Looked like Bearden driving, attacking the rim, and he does get swiped across the face over, I think it looked like his nose.
And again, you saw Bassey stick a hand in. I don't think that was the foul. If so, that would be his 5th. Instead, it was Bearden with the whack that will send Beard to the line. 73% free throw shooter on the season, 3rd best on the team, 2 for 2 on the night. Make it 3 for 3, and we are tied.
Of all the players to be at the free throw line, Brian Beard is the one that the Panthers want to have there. They need to get the ball in his hands. Steady
influence, a calming influence, said Ballard. He looks like he needs some calming.
He is. He's the senior point guard. He's so much composure. It's like having a second coach on the floor.
And back into the lead for FIU. Gut check time for the Toppers.
Well, Hollingsworth back on the floor. Josh Anderson, Savage on the perimeter. A lot of weapons on the floor for the Hilltoppers.
Bassius played the second half. One foul away. Off balance, Bearden. And you're not happy with that.
That's tough because that call pretty much bailed out what looked to be a play that was on edge. I'll just say that much by the Hilltoppers. It didn't look that comfortable. Some high-risk passes, but Andrews going to get called for the block.
And that's his fourth. And in the bonus, they'll go to the line. So 1-1. 40 seconds left. Chance to tie the score. And he doesn't get it, but he gets the rebound. Tangled up underneath. Who did it touch? Western ball.
And as we wind down, knowing clock and score is so important for Western Kentucky that has a young team, a lot of game experience now as they're, getting towards the middle of their conference play, but not a lot of, experience for these young players in situations where you have to really understand what's wanted of you and executing as you go down the stretch.
Well, they're going to take another look to see who it touched last. Let's go back through our game points here today. One of them for Rick Stansbury said he needed a big game out of Jared Savage, and they have gotten it. 9 rebounds, 19 points, and a team-high 38 minutes tonight. Savage has delivered, but will it be enough?
Well, Savage, I agree. He definitely has answered the call, but I think the X factor has been Josh Anderson. He has 15 points this evening, 6 of 8 from the floor, 5 rebounds, and he is someone that takes the big shot and makes it when it matters. He is not scared of the big moment, and timing is everything, Phil.
Well, this would be the time. 7-second differential, shot clock to game clock. So FIU should get another possession. If they can limit Western to a 2, they should have a chance to maybe send it to overtime. Anderson.
Here comes the high pick and roll, the switch. Bassie has a mismatch on the inside.
Bearden inside the arc. Hollingsworth wasn't ready. That ankle looks good enough. 16 seconds, 15 on the shot clock. Popping to the hole. The follow-up buried. Bearden misses, but Anderson doesn't. But still, just the 2. Beard. Oh, what a shot! You can hear the circus call from here. 77-76. 5 seconds left. Hollingsworth from 3. Off balance. The buzzer sounds. FIU comes back from 16 points down. The 3rd straight double-digit lead lost by WKU. And a huge win for the Panthers.
The Panthers are fired up because they know that they stole a big game on the road. They had their Road Warriors hat on, and who answered the call for them but their senior leaders. Brian Beard with the cross, the baseline open, and the scoop with the extra sauce on the finish. The senior point guard balling out this evening, and his teammates just overjoyed. A big upset, I would say, on the road, taking this big win for FIU, a statement victory.
Huge win for FIU, huge loss for WKU. We talked about it with this new schedule. They're now 1-3 in conference. It was a good game, just like the game against Marshall, just like the game against ODU, but they let it slip away.
Well, these are learning moments, and this team, the Panthers showed you what they learned from their loss to ODU tonight. It's a different story. They were able to execute, and they get out of Diddle Arena with a win.
Again, only the 8th time in 42 tries the Panthers have gone to Western Kentucky and walked away with the victory. FIU snaps their brief losing streak and bounces back 3-2 in conference, 12-6 overall. Phil Shane and Megan Perry, and we are glad you were with us. Hopefully you enjoyed it as well. Back from a 16-point deficit, FIU flies to victory. So long as we look in at EA Diddle Arena in Bowling Green. The final score, FIU 77, Western 76. Coming up next, the same two teams in women's basketball on beIN Sports.